One night, the heart of the Persian Empire went silent. The royal harem, a sprawling complex of perfumed gardens and gilded chambers, stood utterly empty. 1,000 women, the king's most prized concubines, had vanished without a single trace. This is the story of a mystery that has baffled historians for centuries. You're about to uncover the lost truth behind one of history's most shocking enigmas. We will explore the opulent and dangerous world of the Persian court, a place of immense power and deep secrets. How could 1,000 people simply disappear from one of the most heavily guarded places on earth? Did they fall victim to a dark conspiracy, or did they orchestrate the most daring escape in ancient history? What do you believe happens when an entire chapter of history is erased? The royal harem was far more than a gilded cage of luxury. It functioned as a parallel court, a sophisticated institution vital to the empire's political and social fabric. Within its heavily guarded walls lived 1,000 women, each selected for her unique qualities. They were not merely companions for the king, but daughters of conquered kings, gifts from allied rulers, and scions of powerful noble families. Their presence was a constant, living map of the empire's reach and dominance. Their lives were a blend of rigorous discipline and immense privilege. They were educated in poetry, music, and statecraft, trained in the subtle arts of diplomacy and courtly etiquette. A concubine's influence could be profound, shaping policy through whispered counsel or securing the future of the empire by bearing a royal heir. They were symbols of the king's wealth and power, their very existence a testament to his control over vast lands and peoples. This is precisely why their simultaneous disappearance was so catastrophic. It was not just the loss of 1,000 individuals, it was a direct blow to the empire's prestige, a tear in the very fabric of its political stability. The security of the most protected place in Persia had been utterly compromised. How could such an intricate and vital system fail so completely in a single silent night? The great gates remained sealed at dawn. No whispered prayers echoed from the gardens. No music drifted from the courtyards. The silence was a physical presence, a chilling void where 1,000 lives had been. This is the moment the empire held its breath. Historical whispers of this event are fragmented, scattered across different cultures and chronicles. Persian court records, which meticulously documented every grain of wheat and every royal decree, are mysteriously silent. The most detailed accounts come from Greek historians, who wrote of the incident with a mixture of awe and suspicion, yet they disagree on the most fundamental details. Some place the vanishing during the reign of one king, others point to his successor, leaving the timeline itself shrouded in uncertainty. There is no single, definitive story, only a collection of conflicting echoes. Imagine the scene that morning. A eunuch guard, tasked with the morning protocol, finds a corridor empty, then another. The panic spreads like a fever through the marble halls. The inner gates are sealed, trapping the confusion within the palace walls. Frantic searches turn up nothing. No signs of struggle, no discarded garments, no hint of a mass exodus. It was as if the very earth had opened and swallowed them whole. In the absence of facts, theories erupted like weeds. Court officials whispered of a rival faction within the palace, a secret purge to eliminate the king's closest influences. Others spoke of a terrible plague that struck with supernatural speed, requiring the bodies to be secretly disposed of to prevent wider panic. There were even murmurs of divine retribution, a curse that simply erased the women from existence. Each explanation tried to fill the terrifying emptiness, the complete and utter lack of evidence for where 1,000 human beings could have gone in a single silent night. The silence of the harem was a weapon. In the ruthless calculus of power, the most compelling explanation is often the most brutal. a political purge orchestrated from within the palace walls. This theory suggests the women did not simply vanish, they were removed. The target was not just the concubines themselves, but the king's authority, his lineage, and the delicate balance of the entire court. A rival with immense power, perhaps a jealous queen mother fearing for her own son's succession, or a vizier whose influence was being eclipsed by a favored concubine's council, could have seen the harem not as people, but as pawns. Their simultaneous removal would be a masterstroke, decapitating rival factions in a single, terrifying night. The Persian court was a snake pit of ambition. Succession was never a simple matter of birthright. It was a bloody tournament where the elimination of potential heirs was a standard, if unspoken, tactic. A queen would know that a concubine's son, if he gained the king's favor, could displace her own child. A general might fear a future king born from a noble family he had recently subdued. The motive was everywhere, woven into the very fabric of court life. History provides chilling parallels. In the Ottoman Empire, for instance, the practice of royal fratricide saw new sultans routinely execute their brothers to secure the throne, a systematic purge to prevent civil war. This was the same logic, applied preemptively to the mothers of those potential rivals. The logistical challenge, however, was staggering. How do you spirit away 1,000 people without a single cry being heard? The answer points to the only people who could have done it, the royal guards themselves, specifically the corps of eunuchs who controlled all access to the inner sanctum. Only they had the knowledge of the palace's secret passages and the authority to move through its halls unchallenged at any hour. A conspiracy led by a high-ranking official could have easily co-opted this internal security force, turning the harem's protectors into its executioners. The operation would have required perfect timing and absolute silence, perhaps using a potent sedative in the evening meal or wine to ensure compliance. The bodies would then be discreetly removed through service tunnels and disposed of in a remote, unmarked grave, a secret so dark the empire chose to erase it from its own records. This theory paints a picture of cold, calculated power, where 1,000 lives were the price for one person's ambition. But what if the silence was not a weapon, but a statement? The purge theory paints a grim picture of victims, yet another possibility dares to suggest these women were not passive at all. They were the architects of their own disappearance. This is the mass escape theory, a breathtaking narrative of collective rebellion that transforms a tragedy into a legend of liberation. Imagine the immense courage it would take for even one person to flee such a gilded prison, let alone 1,000 acting in perfect concert. This was not a panicked flight, it was a meticulously planned exodus. The harem, for all its security, was also a world unto itself, a society of women who knew every courtyard, every guarded gate, and every whispered secret of the palace. Their rigorous education in statecraft and diplomacy would have provided the perfect skills for orchestrating such a complex operation. They would have needed a leader, a brilliant mind among them, who could identify sympathizers and exploit the smallest cracks in the palace's defenses. The most likely source of outside help would have been the eunuch guards themselves. These men, often taken from distant lands as boys, lived in a strange limbo, trusted with the empire's most precious secrets, yet never truly part of the power structure. It is entirely plausible that a concubine, or a group of them, managed to forge a bond of trust with certain guards, appealing to their shared sense of isolation, or perhaps promising a future of freedom and wealth beyond the palace walls. A rival political faction, seeking to embarrass the king, could have also provided the necessary resources, from maps to disguises to horses waiting in the dead of night. Where could 1,000 women possibly go without being instantly discovered? Their destinations would have been as carefully chosen as their escape route. A remote mountain village, isolated and loyal to its own traditions, could have offered shelter. A friendly neighboring kingdom, always eager to gain an advantage over the Persian Empire, might have granted them asylum in secret. Or perhaps they simply melted away into the vastness of the empire itself, shedding their silks for simple woolens, trading their life of perfumed idleness for the hard-won anonymity of a merchant's wife or a weaver in a distant city. This theory fundamentally changes how we see these women. It gives them back their agency, portraying them not as pawns in a political game, but as individuals who made a conscious, desperate choice to reclaim their own lives. It asks us to consider the profound desperation that would drive 1,000 people to such an extreme. Was the gilded cage so suffocating that the terrifying uncertainty of the outside world seemed like a preferable fate? The mass escape is the most hopeful version of this ancient mystery, a silent testament to the unbreakable human will for freedom. Two stark possibilities stand before us, each a world of its own. The first is a story of power, a cold political purge executed from within the palace walls. It is a brutal but logical explanation, where 1,000 lives were sacrificed to secure a throne or eliminate rivals. The evidence lies in the chilling silence of the official records and the ruthless nature of court politics, where such acts, while horrific, were not without precedent. The second possibility is a story of will, a mass escape so daring it borders on legend. This theory gives the concubines their agency back, suggesting they orchestrated their own flight to freedom with the help of sympathetic guards or outside factions. The evidence here is the very sophistication of the harem itself, a community of educated, resourceful women who knew the palace's secrets better than anyone. So which holds more weight? The purge theory is grimly plausible, fitting the pattern of ancient power struggles, but it requires us to see the women solely as victims. The escape theory is far more difficult to pull off, a logistical miracle, but it offers a narrative of hope and resistance that resonates deeply. Perhaps the true power of this mystery is not in choosing an answer, but in the questions it forces us to ask. Why does this story, above so many others, capture our imagination so completely? It is because it speaks to universal, timeless themes: the corrupting nature of absolute power, the unquenchable human thirst for freedom, and the silent, erased narratives of women throughout history. We may never find a scroll that reveals the truth. There may be no hidden grave, no lost city of refuge waiting to be discovered, and maybe that absence of a final answer is the point. The silence left behind is not empty. It is filled with echoes, the echoes of 1,000 whispers, 1,000 choices, 1,000 lives that simply stepped out of the historical record and into the realm of enduring legend. What do you believe happened on that silent night? Did they fall to a conspiracy, or did they seize their own destiny? The mystery is now yours to ponder. Share your theory in the comments below.